Let's welcome our presenters for today, Tony McNeill, Relationship Manager from Immigration New Zealand, and he has with him his colleague, Faye Marie Francis as well. But Tony is going to be presenting. Thank you.
Thank you, Meg. Well, thank you so much for having us here today. It's a real privilege to come and talk to you all. Who has been to all the sessions this year where immigration has been here? Yes, I know, yes, yeah. What are some of the things you've learnt? No pressure.
The handshake.
The handshake? Really? What's important about the handshake?
It has to be firm and genuine.
Look each other in the eye. How are you? It's so good to see you again. Awesome. You are so right. See now, look what you missed out on. You should have come to the first ones. Who's been here first year at university? Yeah, okay. So the presentation I have got, I'm going to go through that pretty quickly because it's going to be available to view afterwards. And it's quite wordy, lots of things going on, because that's going to build our foundation for a question and answer session that Faye Marie and I can help you with. And as Meg said, sometimes we can't go into this isn't working, why is it broken? Because there's other mediums we have to use to get that information. But we'll try and be as helpful as we can on our journey. Okay, how does that sound? Good? All right. And we can do a special session on handshakes at the end if you like, because it's exciting stuff. So let's pretend that you've just arrived at university. So we want to look at those things like we want you to complete your studies, explore your work options, make the most of your connections with the New Zealand labour market, find the right job. Who wants to stay in New Zealand after their study? Okay, oh, you're going to stay twice. 2 hands up. That man is keen. I like it. Okay, all right. So that tells me we're on the right track. As you know, when you're at university, you must attend all your classes. Because when it comes to being at university, we've entered into a contract. And I guess it's a triangle. There's yourself, the student, there's immigration, and there's your university. University said, please come and study with us. You said, yes, I will. We've given you a visa. And it's all built on trust, to fulfil your obligations, for immigration to do their part, and for the campus to do their bit. So really important that you make progress in your studies, because sometimes if you go, I don't think I'm going to turn up, what's the worst that can happen? Well, we may not renew your visa, because we're saying, hey, there's a wee problem here with you not fulfilling your obligations. Let's have a conversation and make sure that we get it right. So you can do 25 hours a week? Good work, that was a trick question. Well done. Yep, 20 hours per week. Like in Australia, you can sort of mix and match, but in New Zealand, no. We try and make it 20 hours per week and no more. Why do you think we do that? Any ideas? Well done. I'm going to get you up to present next time. You're brilliant. Yeah, absolutely. When you get your 20 hours per week, it's just to help you with your living expenses, maybe to do some entertainment things. So we don't want people turning up and going, well, I'll put the study down here because my job's quite good. I might do 30 hours per week. But once again, you're breaching that trust. So really important you stick to that 20 hours. And if your employer says, look, I want you to do 25, you're going to have to be really brave and say, no, I can't do that. And because you don't want it to get manipulated. Yeah? Really important. Because who misses out, do you think, when you do that? Yeah. Okay, we find, oh, you've worked too many hours. They asked me to. Don't worry. You shouldn't have done it. Okay. But you do have options, as you can see. Holiday time, vacation time gives you a chance to work longer hours. But if you're unsure, it always pays to check. Yeah, don't make mistakes because you didn't follow up to see what the rules were. Really important. So we had a few changes in November 2018. So self-explanatory. Who here is looking for a 3 years open? Most people, yeah, you're at Canterbury University. I would suspect that's the case. So that is really, really cool. Because it used to be that you would have 2 years post-study visa and you had to find an employer that was going to support you and you had to work for that employer. So quite restrictive, yeah? And a lot of people were finding it hard to get into that employment space. So what do you think the open visa gives you? Lots of Choice, yeah, lots of scope. Because what you want to do with that, and I'll call it an opportunity, is you don't really want to go picking fruit. Okay, it's nice, the sun's shining, I'm in the Hawke's Bay, it's lovely, but am I building my foundation if I want to live in New Zealand? So that's the chance to go, wow, this is what I've studied, this is where I want to go, now it's time to start those building blocks and learn more. And I might change employers during my time as my skill set changes, or my passions, or I've suddenly found where I need to go. It's linked to my study. This is working. So I call that a really cool opportunity. So it's a good change. It's a good news story. And for some students, there's still other options if you don't have a post-study visa. But in this particular room, most of you are going to be eligible for that 3-year opportunity. Just a little bit of housekeeping. Once again, lots of words, so you can look at that at your leisure, and you may already know all those things. So you've still got immigration rules, how much money's in the bank, medicals, police certificates. So you still know that sometimes we're really annoying, yeah? We have to ask you to do lots of things for us so you can have that opportunity, as we spoke about earlier. So partners is it's an important part of your life, your journey here in New Zealand. Sometimes you want to bring your partners over. It's not always easy. It can be time consuming. But there's obviously rules in and around that. So if you've got people doing master's degree, higher end study, PhDs, some of those work restrictions don't exist. And there's options for children. So once again, that's just a wee touch point, a bit of information on what's available if indeed you fit that criteria. One of the big things, that's really important to us is that when you come to New Zealand, sometimes you can find yourself in a subservient relationship. And let's be honest, that's true. You're on a visa and there's restrictions on your visa. It tells you what you can do. You've got to study, you've got to do this. So sometimes people can manipulate your status or where you are currently, particularly in work. So as you go out to find work, don't be desperate, because desperation can make you make decisions about your work conditions. And ultimately, any exploitation that I see is where people think, things are not going well, someone's offered me a job, they know I need this job, so now they're forcing things like no sick leave, no holidays, I'm paying you cash under the table and it's not the going rate. So those are things, and I don't suspect that's going to be a problem here because you're all intelligent people. But people can get manipulated because something sounds really good and then it's not. Yeah. So you make sure you're brave and you use all the tools that are available to you that we provide, because you have exactly the same work rights as I do. It's no different. We don't say, look, I'm sorry, you're from another country. Those rules don't apply. That's not the case. It is it's a real truism. You have the same employment rights as I do. So you're not to be manipulated, you're not to be exploited. Really vitally important. In some situations, employers take passports off people. I think I'm right in saying it's not prevalent here in New Zealand, but there have been instances of that. It does happen overseas. So once again, you back out. You don't go down that pathway, because if you step in there, you'll get swallowed up, yeah, and you won't be happy, which is not good. Have we read of that? Here's one of the challenges that you have, and let's not beat around the bush, is that when you're in New Zealand, we ask you to engage with us contact us. We want to hear from you. But you do have to contact us. English can be a second language, so you may need language line or interpreting services to help you tell your story. Okay, so those options are available for you as well, if it is a problem. So that 0800 number, they can take you through what your options are. They won't give you advice, but they will tell you, look, yes, this is what you need to do, because we always encourage you to stand up for yourself. to have your voice, to talk to your employer, and if you need to walk away, you need to walk away for that self-preservation. But we want to know if someone has been illegal, because that sort of stuff, you know, that gets to a stage where it's illegal to do that. So very important. So once again there, when you want to get advice, you need to get legal advice. You know, if I turn up and say, right, well, look, I'll help you with your visa, I'm really cheap. There's a reason I'm cheap, because I'm not licensed. And so it's illegal for me to give you immigration advice. Okay, so make sure that when you're making a decision, and I think one of the big problems is that, of course, whenever we engage with a service, it costs money. But sometimes you're going to have to decide, well, this is really important. If I try and do it myself and I get it wrong, you know, what's the outcome to that? But this is your decision. Some of you will be so attuned to what visa is, how it's done, then it's not a problem. But, you know, don't be afraid to ask for advice if you think you don't know. That's really important. So that's our 0800 number, or 0508 number, I should apologise. So that's our contact centre, which is 24/7. So if you're an insomniac, ringing up at 3 a.m. is not a bad thing. Ringing up at 3 p.m, not so much, because it's very busy. But it is open 24/7. And of course, you can always email us off our website. And the beauty of asking a question on email is you get the answer via email and you have it printed. Because of course, human beings operate telephone lines. And every human being, we interpret it differently. We're having a conversation, you ask me a question, I interpret your question this way, I give you the answer, and we're not even close. So sometimes using email can be a really satisfactory medium to getting the right answer. As I say, lots of busyness here. So these are different options. Education New Zealand, you'll know about them, their website. They have lots of information for international students. We do as well. New Zealand Qualifications Authority. If you've had a qualification from overseas already, is it recognised in New Zealand or does it have to be registered here? So NZQA will look at it. It does cost money, as you may be aware, but it may help your journey as you go forward. There's a couple of little things here that you'll see down the back there. So this is a little flyer for employers, because employers get a little bit funny about employing people. Okay, so, and they don't realise that when you're on an open work visa, it is really easy to employ an international student. So that is something that you can take away as well. You can always even send it with your CV to say, hey, this is the visa that I've got coming out of university. Do you know how easy it is to hire me? So don't be afraid of visa, Mr. Employer, in a really polite way. Yeah, because sometimes employers think, oh, this is going to be hard. I've heard about it. It's really difficult. In actual fact, it's not that difficult, particularly when you're on an open work visa, because you can just move in there. It's no problems at all. And this little one here that we've produced is succeeding in job interviews. You were here for when we had the employers? Yes, talking about what they look for. What was the big thing they look for? People like you. Yes, that's the answer I was looking for. Okay, so what they basically said was, often when I talk to international students, I say, hi, what's your name? My name is Tony McNeill. I'm currently studying a Bachelor of Arts with a secondary in art history and political science. And I go, well, that's fantastic, Tony. What are your hobbies and passions? And they look at me and go, what? And I say, look, I've got your CV. I know what your qualifications are. In New Zealand, I want to know who you are. What are the things that make you happy? Because suddenly you tell me, well, I like soccer, I love swimming, I'm great at badminton, I play the trumpet, and I dance a lot. Right, we're going to put a band together. Okay, because I want to see a connection in the workplace. Because Kiwi employers want us to make sure, are you going to be a good team player? Will you fit into my workforce? Because I know what your credentials are. I know you've studied so hard. Tell me who you are. So that was one of the big things that came out of that employment expo. So when you're going out there, sometimes we're trying to impress. We really want to impress people. But we have to just be a little bit relaxed and tell them who we are and engage in that story. Because we don't want the best people. You know, don't say you're 10 out of 10 for everything if you're not. I invented the iPhone. Really? Yes, I did. Yeah. So once again, just be yourself. And this little flyer here, it's just a wee DL card. It has a link for interview skills, okay, on our website. And it tells you the Kiwi stuff. So it's really good to learn that. Okay, all right. That was all I was going to say in relation to what we have up there on that particular PowerPoint. We've got questions that have arisen out of that, or anything that's really not going well. And of course I brought my expert, okay, Faye Marie. Yeah.
After 20 hours per week, is that students will be allowed to work for a volunteer work, anything like that?
Volunteering is a great thing to do. If you have space and you have a thing in life that you like to do, whether it be working with animals or people or anything like that, planting trees. So in a volunteer capacity, as long as it's not paid, and as long as you're not doing work that should be paid. Yeah. It's like saying, oh, look, could you, you're studying, can you come and you're doing accountancy? Great, come and do my books for me. It's like volunteering, but that's not. So you see that difference? Yeah. Be right, Faye Marie? Yeah. Internships are different again, aren't they?
Yeah, they are different again.
Is that be allowed, if I get the permission, is that be allowed to work more than 20 hours per week for the
On an internship?
Yeah.
What's your rules around that? Has the university got some rules around internships or some guidelines?
Not that I'm aware of, not as applied to international students.
Okay.
Of course, some internships are paid and some are not.
Yep.
So if it's an internship that's given course credit, I don't think there would be a problem because that's part of your course.
Okay.
Yep.
But if it's a paid internship outside of course time, that's where we'd have to...
So as Faye Marie said, anything where there's money changing hands, we go, ooh, hang on a minute, that could compromise. So once again, check. Yeah, double check.
And after that, the vacation and summer are the breaks that allowed to work for the full time. Rather, I'm doubted about the summer breaks. Is that be 2 weeks summer break sometimes the university is declaring between the studies. So will that time be allowed to work for the full time for the students?
So if you finish your studies at a certain time before Christmas, let's say,
Yeah.
and then I'm not starting back till February 22nd. My understanding is you don't have that whole length of time. It's really just the university semester that counts, isn't it? Yeah. So whatever the university holiday break is,
Okay.
you can do it. So if you went, I've only got one exam, and you're now, what do I do now? You've got to wait till it's a uniform spot that recognises that. So you can't just say, oh, well, I'll work for 3 months full time because my course of study has finished. Yeah.
But what about the semester breaks? Only the short-term breaks, like 2 weeks breaks in between the studies?
Yeah. So any time there's a holiday break, like the 2 weeks,
Yep.
then yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what about the level? If I'm studying the level 8 now, if I'm going to do a professional course, something like that, I'm degrading to after this level 8, I'm going to pursue one more degree for my
Right.
professional, like for example, teaching, like that kind of stuffs. But I have 3 years work visa with me for the level 8 as well. But when I'm doing the level 7, again 1 more year, what about the visa status of my dependents?
Of your dependents?
Yeah.
That is a fantastic question, and I will take that as a sidebar, unless you've got a really strong answer.
So what was the question?
So doing a course of study,
Yes.
and then doing another course of study at level 7, maybe a teaching, whatever, so you can transition into that. What is the status of your dependents?
Yes.
Yeah, well, my first answer is nothing should change.
No.
If you're still legally studying and we've approved it, we're not going to say, oh, you can't have your kids. Yeah, or you can't have your partner. Because nothing would have changed dramatically if we've approved that level of study and you're still eligible to have partner. Nothing should change.
One more options the Ministry of Education recently has been announced. So what I'm thinking is with my educational qualification already, whatever I'm having with my educational experience, I want to convert to the teaching for the New Zealand. So that option, when I'm looking for that, I may need to complete one more degree of graduate diploma in teaching. So in that case, my dependents already with me in New Zealand now. So if I'm pursuing that level 7, I have doubted about that stay of their dependents here if I am doing the level 7 degree.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good.
Yeah, I can't see any reason why we would suddenly change the parameters of
Yes.
your partner to be here with you.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you very much for
Okay.
that.
Could you give a bit more detail about what's involved in applying for the 3-year open visa and the partner visa?
The partner visa?
Yeah, both the,
Yep.
the 3-year open visa, post-study visa,
So,
and the partner visa. What's involved in the application of those?
So that's a really good question, and I've never filled one out. So, but the reality being is that if you think about all the visa types, and Faye-Marie, jump in. If you think about all the visa types that you apply for in New Zealand, work visa, any type of visa, it's really just following the instructions. So you will go into that student space on the website. It'll be done online. It goes up to Palmerston North, and you'll have what are you applying for? I'm applying for an open study visa. And so you'll be asked to show attendance, attainment of your graduation, degree, etc. And that's what you normally wait for before you apply. And it's fundamentally a relatively straightforward process, as I understand it. So Palmerston North office process all our student visa, as you're probably aware. So it's not onerous. Yeah, it's probably one of the more simplest things because being an open visa, you don't have to provide a contract or an employer. Okay, all you want to do is establish the fact that you've attained your study, you've graduated, everything's bona fide, you've met the... I'll just try and go back here actually, it'll help me.
It's based on the qualification that you've actually completed. So there's 3 different qualifications for which is going to give you the post-study work visa. So it's a qualification at level 7 to 10 on the framework that's been full-time study, at least 30 hours here. A single qualification at level 4 to 6 that's been studied full-time for at least 60 weeks, or 2 qualifications at level 4 to 6 that have been studied full-time for at least 60 weeks in New Zealand, including at least 30 weeks per qualification. You can't apply any later than 3 months after the date of your student visa that was approved for that qualification. You need to have successfully completed the qualification, and if you are a scholarship or aid student, then you need to have completed whatever conditions were part of that study. And as Tony pointed out before, you need the 4,200 in available funds. Okay, and you can't have previously held a post-study visa, okay, unless you've undertaken and completed a higher qualification. That's basically the fundamentals of it.
In actual fact, sort of once you tick all those boxes, you don't have to have an employer component. So that removes a lot of complexity. Yeah, as I say, it's for you to go out there and go, wow. As they say, we're going to just go and find out where I need to go to on this journey.
In order to obtain our post-study work visa, we have to provide to the immigration some kind of document from the university. And our studies will finish probably at the end of November. How can we get this document from the university to submit to the immigration?
From the university's website, if you use the search box, you can search for transcript service, and then you can apply online for a transcript. So I'm not sure if it's issued immediately. Has anybody here done that already? Okay, 2 to 3 days, there is a fee involved, and then I presume they just email it through to you? And,
Online or hard copy?
Online or hard copy. So
2 to 3 days.
2 to 3 days.
Brilliant.
The hard copy would be posted.
Don't you have to pick it up?
Oh, you need to pick it up from the Student Services building over here. Okay, thank you very much.
If my study is finishing in the first week of December, so that's a time, when your Christmas vacation is approaching. So how much time would the immigration office take if I'm applying, say, in the end of first week of December? So how much time period I would expect?
Yeah, look, it can take a little while at the moment. So we do have a backlog at the present time. Speaking for December, I can't give you, it would be remiss of me to say it'll take this long. We just
Some
really don't know at this
expectation?
stage.
No, because they are changing quite frequently at the moment. The processing times are coming down, but that's going to be a peak processing time for Palmerston North. So it could take anywhere up to 30 to 60 days, but they'll try and get through as many of them as they can before Christmas. If there's urgency, you can always request some priority processing. Now that time frame is just a guideline on my part, okay? It could be quicker than that, depending on what the wait times are like at the time. But just check the website. It lists all the processing times and they're updated regularly.
Is it possible to work during the transition period while waiting for that approval to come through?
If you are still hold a valid student visa with those work rights on it, you can work until you get that visa. If your visa expires before the new visa's decided, which it probably won't be because it probably goes to March or February or March, then you wouldn't be able to work. You'd get an interim visa that would have visitor rights on it.
The message being is that, look, you know, from your perspective, have everything set to go and it's in. And then you know you've done your bit. And, you know, it's fair to say that immigration has really been, you know, the volumes have been huge of late, way more than we had anticipated. So that's our problem, which then becomes your problem. Not ideal, we know that, but we are working on resolutions and have been for quite some time, just through sheer volume.
Just remember, if your student visa is still valid and you've got work conditions, you can still work.
Yeah, I think you can travel. You'd be able to travel still on your student visa.
As long as your visa is still valid when you enter the country, you can come back in.
Yep. So the biggest risk is if your visa for some reason goes into an interim visa, then you can leave the country, but you may have to wait offshore until the decision's made.
Right, you can't re-enter on an interim visa.
I think you'd always want to include your family on the initial application.
Yes, if you're entitled to, put them on the application.
Yeah, that would be the best thing to do, because otherwise we don't know and then we go, oh, hang on, what's happened here?
You'll be able to declare your family on any application, okay? So you won't actually be able to include them on a student visa application, but you can declare them.
As long as we know, you know, and then we go, we've got a question, so we can come back and ask if we need clarification on things. But if we don't know of something that sits outside what you're doing, then it becomes a little bit complicated. Yeah.
Even if the family is not here in New Zealand, they're back in our home country.
If it has space to declare them on an application form, then put them in, because then you've declared them, and further down the track when you apply for residency, that'll be a good thing, that you've already declared them.
Because you've indicated to immigration, these are my intentions.
Kind of the same question, but the situation for those people is kind of better, because they start in the first semester and they have enough time to apply and receive the feedback from the immigration. But for students who started in July on second semester, it's kind of limited time to apply to receive the transactions and then apply for a post-work visa. It's kind of 20 or 30 days only. So if the student visa expire during the time that I apply, or other students apply for a post-work visa, do I have to leave the New Zealand, or can I stay to receive the immigration reply?
So whilst you're waiting for your new visa to come through, you're on an interim visa, then you can stay in New Zealand.
Okay.
You don't have to leave.
Okay.
No.
Thank you.
And that's not something you apply for. We just automatically give that to you.
Oh, okay.
Can a partner of a PhD student having work visa work as a self-employed person, or they need to be necessarily employed by an employer?
If your partner's on an open work visa, it would have to be working for someone. We don't encourage self-employment, no.
Is it illegal, or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's like people at university on your 20 hours going, well, I'm going to set up Trade Me I'm going to bring stuff into the university, I'm going to sell it as a
But-
wholesaler and that sort
But
of
their
stuff.
work
yeah.
visa is full-time. It's not 20 hours.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. But it's still, my point is, it still says you can do certain stuff, but it doesn't say you can be an entrepreneur. Yeah, or self-employed.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
sorry, yeah.
So this question is particularly related to finding a job as an international student. So I am doing a part-time job based on my time availability. So, as a relief teacher, because I am doing something related to education. But I have a question on how the police vetting happens every time. So this job is not necessarily for all 20 hours. I am free to do something else which will fit into the 20 hours, right? But every cycle of police vetting takes a long time. So I wanted to understand if it's centralized. So once police vetting is done with my name and my passport, is it already available for another employer, or does it go through this entire process again?
What you're saying is that if you were going out for jobs
Yes.
and the employer requests that, I think my answer is no. You have to do it on each employer wouldn't have.
I would imagine each employer would want you to do it again because they wouldn't
Yeah.
be privy to that previous employer's information. Is that what you're talking about in
Yes,
relation
yes,
to a
yes.
job, an employer?
Yes, yes.
No, it'd be likely you'd have to do it
So
each
there is
time.
nothing that's there on a database with my passport that I don't have any criminal, whatever, that is not available to emploers? Or
Not them to access without your permission.
Okay.
Yeah. So when you apply though, do you get a copy of it, don't you?
No, we
don't?
are asked to fill a form,
Right.
which is then
So you
submitted
don't get
for
any
vetting.
feedback,
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
So that's the question, because that takes, I don't know, at least I
28.
think one of the jobs that I'm waiting for is almost 2 months and I've already taken up another job, so my details are sitting somewhere that I'm clear of anything, right? But so
Well,
that's a challenge as an international student. I don't
It
know.
may make it easier for an employer to retrieve that information, but it would still have to be done.
Yeah.
All right.
What I find interesting, just as an aside, is normally and going to an employer, I would, when I've applied for a job, I've filled out no convictions, I've been good, all the rest of it, and then I still go through the process. Now, I might get to the end process and they go, look, Tony, you're just the person we want. Oh, hang on a minute. A week later, my police report arrives and I've lied and I have got convictions. So that way that, they can get themselves out of that situation. So I find it interesting they're going to wait the whole time for the police report to come back because they must not employ anybody because it takes too long. So I'm very intrigued by that. But anyway, that's just me thinking. Yeah. Okay,
And
carry on.
the other question is, as international students, I do understand from my student advisor here at the department that we can do up to 2 courses which are marked off as distance.
Right.
So I just want to kind of understand on that. So I'm a full-time student here, but there are some courses of interest which are in line with what I would like to do, but they are only distance courses.
So you
How does
do
it-
them online, basically?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. So that's okay. How does it work in terms of?
How many hours a week are you spending on it?
We don't have, so for this one particular course, we don't have online sessions, but the readings are all online, assignments are there. It is a 30 credit program, just like any other campus program.
I think that's okay, as you've been advised. Immigration wouldn't have a problem with that unless it's actually another full course.
Right.
Yep.
Yes.
If it's part of your holistic study, then, without going too far, removed. And it's all about what the spirit of intent is. Once again, that trust. Yeah.
Is there any specific requirement for the minimum length of contract after we, get a job when we are applying for residency? For example, I'm going to graduate in December, and I've already found a teaching job in high school here. And,
Oh, brilliant. Well done.
Unfortunately, they gave me only a 1 year, 1 year fixed time contract.
Yep.
So is it advisable that I apply for residency as soon as I,
Okay, then. So what medium would you use to apply for residency? Which option are you going to choose?
Skilled migrant?
Yep.
Okay, you need permanent ongoing employment. I think if you have a contract for up to 2 years length, which is renewable, that would be acceptable. I don't think that at the time you submit your skilled migrant application, if you're on a year contract, then they're probably going to ask you a few questions. It's not, probably won't be acceptable.
Yeah.
It's going to have to be longer term, 2 years permanent.
But, so when we talked about building your building blocks, your foundation, that's your foundation. And as I always say, this is a marathon, not a sprint, okay? So you do have to plan, you have to work out what your journey is going to be in New Zealand. So often people make the biggest mistakes when they try and outthink it or go round the back. You know, I'll try and do a shortcut. So you're better to look, well, this is how it works. Hopefully I'll get a 2 year, I'll get a second year or another year, then I can go back to immigration and say, hey, how does it look now? But I appreciate that you want to look at that residency and it's really important, but you just be patient, yeah.
The post-study work visa is there for you to get the work experience and the skills that you need to be able to apply for skilled migrant down the track.
I just wanted to ask that if I am on a work visa and I want to study for a professional qualification, like probably a chartered accountancy course, which is more of a self-study based course, you don't really go to a university for that. Is it possible to do that on my work visa?
I think if you are still working and doing that in your own time, that would be acceptable, yes.
Okay.
But if the study becomes a bigger component than the work, then you'll have to change the work visa to study.
So basically if you're working, you're working and you've got a little element of study.
Right.
Okay? So really be careful that it doesn't go like that. Yeah. Or you're on the wrong visa.
Okay, what if I'm on a student visa, then can I do it? Because then I'm studying in a university, but I'm doing that as well.
Very similar answer to here. As long as it's not far removed from what you're doing and it's still within the spirit of what we've given you as a visa and this is what you can do, then okay. But if it's a totally different topic, then I'd be a little bit careful.
A little bit. I mean, on that student visa, with your work conditions, what you choose to work in is entirely up to you. But when it comes to post-study work visa, that is going to have to be relevant to your qualification.
My question is, when I apply for my partner, I'm on a student visa and that expires next year, sometime mid next year. And I apply for my partner's visa and they are eligible for an open work visa since I'm a student. Now, when I move from my student to my work visa, does anything change for them? Because what the Immigration New Zealand site says is the partner is eligible for work visa. The duration is till the time we are on study visa. So once our study moves to work, does anything change for them? Do we need to reapply for them?
Once you change to a work visa, your partner would have to apply for another visa as well in conjunction with yours. So if you apply for a work visa, you get a 1 year work visa. If your partner wants to work, then they will be applying for a 1 year work visa under partnership to you. So you'll have to change it.
So the summer break starts on the 11th of November and my next semester, the first semester that I'm in, ends on the 23rd. And between the 23rd and the 11th, I am allowed to work 20 or 40 hours. I'm still not clear about it. And am I allowed to work 40 hours until the 17th of February? That's when my next semester starts.
So just for clarification, that break you've got coming up, is that university holiday time?
Yes, the summer break, yes, the 11th of November it says. And then
You finish 11th of November? Yep. And as we talked about earlier, it's what the university deems to be summer break.
And
Have you got any insights on
No,
that?
just go by the generic
So
generic dates.
So immigration normally looks at what is the university doing in general. And so if the first students are back 2nd of February, we would call that bang. That's the summer break over. So you'd have to go back to 20 hours.
My question is something related to the question previously asked by this student, that if the job offer is for 2 years fixed contract, then does it make you eligible to apply for skill migration category?
2 years will do, but it needs to be 2 years at the time you apply. And it needs to be permanent. Well, it needs to be be able to be renewed as well. But just go and double check the instructions for the skilled migrant category under skilled employment.
Yeah, and then the second question is maybe not related to visa, but the thing is, if I get a job offer, which is 2 years fixed contract, and then I sign the contract and I agree with all the terms and conditions, and the next day I get another job offer, which is much more permanent. So what obligations do I have with the previous employer to which I have already signed my contract?
If you get another job while your skilled migrant application is with us, then that's fine. You have no obligation to that previous employer. You can change your job and submit the new contract to your case officer, and that will become the job offer that will be considered with the residence application. Yeah. So yes, you can change.
Thank you.
Hello. I have 3 questions. First is we have for those who have submitted full medical and police certificate at the time of student visa. So while applying for post-study work visa, they need not to reapply for medical certificate or police certificate. Is it correct?
Hey.
They can still use this old one?
Your medicals, when submitted with a student application, I believe are valid for 36 months.
Okay.
So if it's over that time, you'll need to do new medicals, and it's highly likely you'll need the new police clearance because you've probably been studying for more than 2 years. You have to do that every 2 years.
Okay. Okay. Another question is related to partner visa. So as you have already mentioned that while applying our post-study work visa, we need to mention or declare our partner and kids. So in that case, when we will be applying from here, first we need to apply the visa and then they need to apply it back from home country. Is it the case, or we can apply together?
No, and if they're offshore, you'll apply for your application, and once your application is approved, then they can apply for applications to come over and join you if they meet the requirements.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you have already mentioned them.
Yeah.
As we talked
because
about earlier.
in my case, my partner and my kids already has 1 year work visa because I'm on student visa till March. So they also got the visa till March, and they just need to extend it once I get my post-study work visa.
Yes, it's fairly simple.
Yeah. And the last question is related to residency. So as you have mentioned, so what is the salary criteria still applicable for us to apply for residency?
Okay, I would have to get that information for you. Salary thresholds are changing eventually. So anything that is mid-skilled will be $25 an hour or more. And then when you're getting up into those higher salaries, I think it's I'm going to park that and I'm going to send that to Meg because although I've got a fair idea, I want to make sure I get it right for you. Okay. Yeah, but it is published on the website as well what those salary bands are for the skilled migrant category.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe it's up in the 70s for the higher skilled employment.
Okay.
Yeah, that's for work to residence though, yeah.
Is there a salary range for just your points?
For skilled migrant.
Yeah.
There is a salary range for skilled migrant,
right,
yes.
okay,
There's a
so there is-
salary band.
Right.
So whatever the policy is at the time you apply is the policy that you will come under. So we've mentioned pending changes, but nothing's changed, so it's the policy applicable at the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
My question is, now I'm currently taking a master course, but I'm thinking if I change my course to postgraduate diploma, am I still eligible to apply for a post-study work visa?
So you've got to change what you're studying?
I'm thinking I will change my course from a master degree to postgraduate diploma.
Okay.
So.
Yep. So you're still studying level 7? Yep. So if you get permission to change your course, will you still be eligible for an open work visa? Yes. Yep. Yep.
If there's a significant change to your course, if your course actually changes from one course of study to another, you'll need to change your student visa.
Yeah.
Okay, you need to hold a student visa to be applicable to the course that you're doing, okay, to study that course. So you'll have to change it if you change your course.
Wow. Thank you so much for having us. Who's going to be here next year? Well, you're all graduating. Who's going to be here next year? Right, make sure you turn up for the handshake one. All right? It'll be really cool.
Excellent.
All right.
Thank you, everybody, for coming along and joining us today.